Yeah,
keeping
that's a
the...
great question, Carolina. I like your name because that's my daughter's name too. But what I would say is in the winter months when the humidity drops in the houses due to the heat, one thing that's really helpful is a humidifier by the side of the bed. Often people would use that in kids' rooms or if they're sick or something like that, but it's not a bad idea, especially if you have significant dryness in the winter months, to use that throughout the season, and I think you'd find some benefit from that.
Excellent.
All right, thank you for your call. Does pollen and dust and other things like that also cause dry eyes? We talked about the allergy factor.
Yeah, it's a very good question. Mm-hmm. Any irritant on the surface of the eye can exacerbate dryness as well. The more we understand about dry eye, the more we know there's an inflammatory component to the disease. And often the best treatments for dryness these days are anti-inflammatories. And so these diseases go hand in hand. If you have uncontrolled allergy, it's best to treat that. And if you have dryness along with it, you do well to treat both problems.
And people aren't quite sure of when to use the eye drops. How often should one use eye drops?
Yeah, I mean, that's a tough question. It depends on the severity. A lot of the drops that you get in the store have preservative. I definitely recommend not using those more than 4 times a day. There are preservative-free formulations that can be used safely much more often. But I would say as a general rule, if you're needing drops more than a few times a day, then you should get evaluated because there are probably a lot of other treatments that could be beneficial.
All right. So. Again, if you'd like to call us, our number is 361-4675, 361-4675. If somebody uses eye drops, can they become dependent on them, or would those be the over-the-counter drops that you become dependent on?
Yeah, fantastic question. A couple of the drops that are often advertised are the drops that take the red out. Typically, I don't prescribe those because the medicine in there to take the red out can have a rebound effect if you use those too often. Often you're not getting to the root of the problem and the root of the redness. And so typical lubricating drops are not habit forming and you can't get dependent on. But some of the take the red out drops, often that can be a problem.
Yeah, because a lot of people think that if you keep using the drops that you're just going to be dependent on them, but it really isn't a factor. You know, your eyes are going to produce what they produce.
Exactly.
Right?
It's important to look, if you look at the ingredients, as long as it's just a lubricating solution, it's not going to be habit forming.
Now, what about the foods that people eat? Is there anything that you can do to help your cause? And a lot of people nowadays are into nutritional supplements. Can that help?
Yeah, that's a great question. And a lot of the things we're learning about dryness are the oil glands in the eyelids that keep these tears on our eyes are benefited from omega-3 fatty acids, flaxseed oil, and vitamin E are 3 things that I definitely recommend. There's some formulations that include all those into an easier to take regimen, but those can all be helpful, definitely.
All right, when we come back from the break, we'll be taking more of your phone call questions for Dr. Foster of the Eye Associates in the West Bradenton office. And our phone number is 361-4675. Again, 361-4675. So stay with us. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Local Doctors on Call. I'm Alex Redmond, and today our guest is Dr. Foster of the Eye Associates, the West Bradenton office. And we already have a phone call. So Blake, welcome to Local Doctors on Call. What is your question for Dr. Brian Foster? Hi, Blake.
Hi. Hi.
Hi.
I was wondering, I have like a really red eye now and some stuff.
Okay, you have a red eye. And what is your question?
And there's stuff stuck in it. I don't know what to do.
Oh, so, okay, so you have something stuck in your eye. Is it a piece of glass or something? Can you be a little more specific? Or you
no, it's like, I I really don't know. I just got it in my eye. I was.
Okay, so maybe that's something where she may need to go and see somebody in an emergency situation if it's something sharp.
Yeah, Alex, I'd say if you just had an injury or something significant in the eye and it's not getting better and you've tried rinsing it, I would definitely try to get checked by someone as soon as possible. And that sounds like something that it may be dry related, it may be trauma related. I'm not sure, but I would definitely recommend you get checked with an exam.
And of course, do you guys at the Eye Associates, do you have a hotline? Or,
yeah, I mean, the main number where, there's always a doctor on call, and there's always someone readily available. So, if you're concerned, then, you could definitely do that.
All right. And Blake, if you're still on the line, you have two offices. If you're in Sarasota, or are you in Bradenton? Okay, we have another caller, and we have Mary Beth on the line. Hi, Mary Beth, you there?
Yes.
Hi, welcome to Local Doctors on Call. What is your question?
Hi, yes. I wanted to know what the best remedy or what I could buy over the counter for dry eyes. Now, I do have contacts. I'm a contact wearer.
Mm-hmm. It's a great question. There are quite a few, and if you come to my office, I have quite a variety of different lubricating drops. It's interesting in that every formula is a little bit different, and so what I'd recommend in a contact lens wear are there special re-wetting drops that are specifically designed for contact lens wear. So when you have the lens in the eye, it tends to not build up on the surface of the eye, and that can interfere with contact lens wear. But I don't know if I can tell you one specific brand. One thing that is always can be helpful is a preservative-free formulation, especially if you're needing a lot. But like we talked about earlier, if you're needing them a lot and having significant discomfort, it's always a good idea to have an exam and get checked.
Well, it tends to be as the weather gets hotter and I turn the heat on it, etc. My eyes seem to get drier and drier.
Sure,
and
definitely.
That's wonderful advice. I really appreciate it.
Oh, you're welcome.
Because I know it's coming. Hopefully, the cooler weather and.
Yeah, that's a helpful tip. Another thing in the summer, particularly ceiling fans. A lot of people like to run the ceiling fans while they're sleeping, which keeps it nice and cool. But that's another potentially very drying environment. And so often just simply turning the fan off, giving it a week or two can be beneficial.
All right, Mary Beth, we'd like to thank you for those great questions. And let's talk a little bit more about what someone could look for in the ingredients. Is there something that they are looking for? Because you mentioned what not to have, such as the preservatives. But is there a key thing, like a saline or something?
I mean, a lot of the drops have just different polymers. There's quite a few different ingredients. Ethylene glycol is one, and there's some cellulose-based formulations. It can be really tough just as a general consumer trying to digest all the different things out there. And I think the main thing I'd like to cover is just the fact that the treatments that are designed to take the red out often are not helpful and can be harmful in the long run. And you want to stick with something that is designed for dryness and for lubrication alone.
All right. Are there other diseases that may be associated with someone having dry eye syndrome, something they should look out for?
There are things, pretty common things like thyroid conditions can be associated with dryness. A lot of the rheumatologic diseases like rheumatoid arthritis is a common one. And Sjogren's syndrome is also very common. Another thing that I'd like to just mention briefly that is also very common is any menopause-related hormonal changes can also significantly affect dryness, and so that's something that affect a lot of people.
All right. Well, that's absolutely great advice, and we'd like to thank you for joining us on Local Doctors on Call. It's Dr. Brian Foster, and if you'd like to reach out to him, he is at the Eye Associates West Bradenton office, and that number is 792-2020. Again, 792-2020, and remember, it is your health. We'll see you next week.
All right.